IVM. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Positively Unlimited podcast. If you have been listening to this particular series of A to Z, you will know that it is all about relationships. Yes, I'm sharing 26 mindsets or perspectives on our love life. And today's perspective is about calling a timeout. What is a timeout? Well, it's that moment in a fight when one partner realizes that the two of them are slowly inching towards a space of absolute disrespect or a space where whatever will be said and done cannot be undone or taken back. And in that moment, this partner has the wisdom to call a timeout, to look at his partner or to look at her partner and say, you know what? I need a break. I can't do this right now. We both need to calm down. We'll talk about this again in some time. This ability to call a timeout, well, in a lot of relationships can be the superpower. As a generation, we are less tolerant in our relationships especially. We are more high-strung and terribly wound up. We're constantly stressed, which means that our resilience or patience levels are also very low. And this also means that anger is a best friend to many, many, many of us. A lot of us don't know how to express this anger either, which only makes everything that much worse. Learn to call a timeout. In a fight, you often have pairs where you have one partner who is the more loud one, the one who will express, scream, and shout and just get it all out of their system. But you also often have the other partner who is somebody who can't handle rising decibels and will often pull back into a shell. But then again, you also have partners who will not bring up any issue, not want to confront, and simply keep pushing everything under the carpet. Now, whatever may be your fighting style, whatever may be your way of expressing anger, remember one thing. When you call a timeout, you are choosing to practice the pause. You are choosing to take a break. You are choosing to recalibrate. And if you don't know what the pause is all about, then listen to episode 114, in which I talk about this extremely useful life hack. Now, when it comes to a fight, we often don't call a timeout, or it's not something that strikes us, because as a personality, we are somebody who must have the last word, or we are somebody who must win the fight, or we are somebody who cannot be wrong, which means we are somebody who fights with the ego in the front. Now, if your partner is somebody like who I have just described, then they possibly don't even know how to spell the word timeout. And even if you are the wiser one and you do call a timeout, they may not let you. Why? Because they must have the last word, because the ego must always win. Having said that, if this is the kind of partner that you have, learn to sit in silence while they rant, vent, and have their say. It does not mean that they have won the argument. It does not mean that you are the weaker one. It means that you are letting them blow off some steam, and in due time, you will bring up the topic again and have the same conversation, but in a more constructive manner and with you in the driver's seat. That's the other thing calling a timeout does. It allows you to step back into control of the conversation and of your own self. On one level, when you call a timeout and you sit with yourself, you may realize what the actual pain point is. You may realize what is actually bothering you. You may realize what the fight is really all about. Which, by the way, is something that in a fight between couples is usually forgotten. It's very normal for a fight to start because of one thing, but by the time you are halfway through it or you are towards the end of it, you fought about 5 other things and you don't know why you even started arguing. Well, that's the oldest trick in the book that anger pulls on all of us. And once again, That's the reason why I say learn to call a timeout. Now, let me also address the fear that comes with a timeout. A lot of people feel that if they call a timeout, then the issue will be left unresolved. That is a possibility only if you don't bring the topic up again. If you are the one who called for a timeout, then you should be the one who brings the subject up again in a calmer manner, in a constructive manner, in a way where the two of you can actually resolve the real issue. Also remember this, when you step out of a timeout, when you are restarting the conversation, you cannot start with a blame game. You called a timeout because the fight was turning into exactly that. So now, when you approach the same topic, you want to do it from a different angle and with an intention to resolve things. And in order to do that, you cannot start or you cannot at any point in the conversation flow into placing blame. This is not about who is right or wrong, but rather about how you felt and what needs to change. I've spoken more about fighting fair in that episode called Fighting Fair, so go back to it and listen to it. But at this point, I'm calling a timeout and I'm going to head out of here. I will catch you again in the next episode. Till then, remember that all episodes are available on the IVM Podcast and app, and you can connect with us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is IVM Podcasts. You can also connect with me on Instagram. My handle is Positivity Angel. And please leave me a message on how you are enjoying this podcast, because I promise you, it makes my day, it makes me smile. Thank you very much for tuning in.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's been an absolutely incredible week on the network. We had so many great guests, so many great episodes. Advertising is dead. We had Faye D'Souza on. Varun took a break for 4 weeks, but what a bang he's back with. Siddharth Deshmukh celebrates the 100th episode of The Traveling Professor. It is an amazing show which I cannot say enough good things about. Please do listen to it. And a different Siddharth on the network, Siddharth Bhatia. He's just been absolutely guest after guest, right? This week, Zoya Akhtar talking about Gully Boy. I couldn't imagine a more interesting conversation. Ragini Kumar is on 2 different episodes this week. She is on Cyrus Says and she is on Edges and Sledges, both in anticipation of her new show, Zindagi Diaries. Do check out her appearance on both of those shows and her new show as well. Tanvi and Shlok of the Millennial Athlete had a phenomenal episode with Dinesh Karthik and Abhishek Nair. Absolutely riveting stuff, talking about mentorship in many different ways. Definitely do give that a listen. And finally, I have a request to all of you. We have our listener survey going out this week. Every year we send out a listener survey at the end of the year. We're doing it again this year. And we would really appreciate your help in letting us know a little bit more about yourself. Our advertisers are really keen to find out who is listening to us and more about them. Anything that you could do is kept anonymously, and we would really appreciate your help in this. And to sweeten the pot just a little bit, we'll be giving a randomly selected group of participants in the survey some IBM swag. Last year we gave out coffee mugs. What we're going to give out this year is still a surprise. So please do help us out. Would really appreciate that. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Whether you're an established sports person or a budding one, or simply a sports enthusiast, join us, Tanvi and Shlok.
We are 2 passionate pro badminton players talking policy, mindset and everything sport.
So tune in to the Millennial Athlete every Monday.
Only on the IVM Podcast Network.
Trust us, it's gonna be lit.